Hi, welcome to the CaLew Perspective. Hi, John. How are you doing today?
Harold, I'm good. How are you?
Great,
Cool.
great. We've got
Good.
another great topic here that we're going to talk about here.
Yep.
I know a lot of folks out here are always saying, well, how does life get better? This topic that we're going to talk about today is life gets better as we age.
As we age, we're old.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
think that's a great topic right now
That's a good topic.
because we're seeing sort of this trend now of folks being active,
Yes. As they're older.
as they get
As they
older.
get older. Yeah.
And that's something that I think as young people starting to see this, I think when I was young, we kind of thought, you're up in the 50s and you're pretty much kind of done for.
Yeah. That's true, right? Like you would think when I was young, 31, number one, 20s was old, 30s was super old.
Oh yeah, that was sort of
Like
the
you're ancient already.
and
40s, forget about it. 50s, you're almost dead, right? Like when you're young, you're like,
yeah,
you don't
that's
think about that
no, you don't. But that was from you know
way back
way
when.
back,
I mean,
and that
that's the thought.
and you think about it. I mean, we started out looking at it, and I know most of you guys can witness to this.
Yeah.
We thought, couldn't wait to turn 21
Oh my gosh.
because it was like, okay, at 21, I'm legal. I can
Could
drink,
drink,
I can move out
go
of the
out, have
house,
fun.
have fun, and
Yeah.
everything. So we build ourselves up to the age of 21, and
Yeah.
that sort of becomes the eye mark of your first step into true adulthood, even though at 18,
Yeah.
they consider you an adult. You
Yeah.
don't really feel that until
Because you
suddenly
can't
you
do
hit that.
everything yet, right?
No,
I think
you
that's
cannot.
definitely
That's
like
the part.
I can vote.
Yes.
I can what else can you do
At
at
18,
18?
you can
You could go, I
basically,
mean, you could buy your like
you can
you could
get
get
you
stuff because
got
you're
your
a legal
driver's
adult,
license,
driver's license, you could buy
that
a
kind of
house. You
thing.
could do it if you have money, right? You can do all
Of
those things,
course,
which
but
most people don't
but
when you're 18.
you cannot go
You
into any
can't drink, you
bars.
can't
You
go to the
cannot.
bar,
Yes, you
right? So
can't
you
do that,
can't do
and that's what
those.
all the big guys, or at least that's what they
That's
think.
what the yeah,
So we
that's
kind
true.
of start going towards the 21, and we kind of feel like, okay, when we hit 21, that is the mark.
That's
I've
like
made it.
made it. Yeah, I've
Yes,
done it.
I'm,
I can go to Vegas,
yes,
right?
and
Remember that?
I can legally some.
Gamble.
And so you
I
start
could
to feel
drink.
this,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so then as you get into the 21 plus
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
you start to think, okay, wow, okay, now reality starts to click in.
Yeah.
I've got to get a job.
You got to get a job.
I've got to make
Yeah.
an income. And it's like, well, how, if I wanted to get out into an apartment,
Right.
I've got to make an income.
You got to have
It's like
money.
mom and dad is not
Yeah.
really going to
They're
be,
not going to support you
they're not
anymore.
supporting now.
You
It's
got to
like,
start doing
and
that yourself.
then it starts to sink in.
Oh my gosh.
And then
Yeah.
by the time you start to look at, you start reaching 25 plus,
Yeah.
and you start to think, okay, I really got to get serious.
Right.
And now it's no more running around like you did when you were 17 and 18 with your
Mm-hmm.
friends, going to the skate park or
Yeah.
going to the movies or
Whatever.
doing
Movies,
all those
bowling,
kind of
all that
bowling,
stuff.
all
Yeah.
that. They started to kind of get into the rear view mirror.
That's
So
right.
now you're starting to feel like, okay, I'm getting older now. I need, and by the time you get to the 30 marker, starting to look at things a little bit more negative,
Yeah.
and you don't realize that you're thinking, I'm getting older.
Yeah.
And you're thinking,
Well, remember too the saying, what was the say? What's over the hill? Is it 40 or 30? 40.
yeah,
40?
40. I think they were
Is it 40?
40. They would start, yeah,
Over the
saying
hill?
you're
You're like,
over
oh,
the
you're
hill.
over the hill.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes. I'm thinking,
Is that even a thing anymore?
I don't know.
I don't think
It's
so.
so far in my rearview mirror that I don't even know that it's even back there anymore,
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
but
but I remember that like, oh, you're over the
yes.
hill. Oh,
I
you're an
mean,
old man.
because from that perspective of where
Yeah.
you were,
Where you were, yeah.
you were starting to feel that.
That's
And
true.
so I hear young people saying, I'm getting old. I'm
How
getting
old are
old.
you?
And
How old
you
are you?
ask,
Oh yeah, how old are you? Oh, I'm 30.
yes. And you're like,
You're like, you
oh,
ain't old yet.
yeah, it's like to me, I'm thinking you're just now
Mhm.
starting to really get into synchronization
Yeah.
of life.
But that's yeah, like how that's how it's always that's how I
Yeah.
feel how it's been,
Yeah.
right? Even when I was younger, it's just you're 30 years old.
Yes. You're
What in
watching
the
that.
world? If I was, teenager or whatever, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're 30 years old,
Yeah.
right?
That was kind of, you were like now starting to. And so I hear
Hmm.
people saying this. I was going to say youngsters, but young people saying, getting old, and
Yeah.
they're like 31, 32. And then they
Mhm.
start looking at that and they start dreading each year then.
Right.
And I don't
And so
know how many
it's
of you
like
have
a
that.
countdown
It's a
now.
countdown.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm gonna getting closer to 40 or
Yes.
35
Yes.
or it's like
And they said that there was a statistic that said that 30 at 30 you started a sort of down uh, tendency, a
Okay.
downtrend
Okay.
tendency in a negative approach because between the
You mean
age of
like the mental?
the mental, you
It's all
just kind of
mental
like
though.
it's all mental.
So not necessarily you're
Not
really
to
going
no,
downhill. It's
but
like you think, oh man, it can't get better than this. Then
that's it.
when I was at
Life.
30,
You're
life
looking
can't
at
get
life
better.
and you're
Okay.
thinking that everything looks negative. It's like, gosh, I'm just getting older.
Yeah.
I've not either accomplished what I wanted to do at
Right.
this point in time, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't have very much time on the clock.
Yeah.
All these negative things start to come
I
into your
got you.
mind. So then you start looking at older age,
Yeah.
and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's really going to get
It's
worse. If it's
brutal.
already
Yeah.
here at 30,
Yeah.
then, and so by the time it says that we get to that point, then all of a sudden midlife.
Yeah.
I'm sure most of you probably heard that midlife crisis
Midlife
type thing.
crisis.
And some folks run into this kind of mindset and they want to rekindle
Relive.
those younger youthful days somewhere around the
Can you
21 mark.
like can you imagine going to a club right now at our age?
I don't
Oh
even
my
I don't
gosh.
even see how that would even be
Like,
fun, to
yeah,
be honest with you.
yeah.
You know,
It
when I
wouldn't be fun.
remember, no, I don't see it as being fun. Now,
No.
I could say going out to have drinks with, friends
Yeah.
at a restaurant or
Different.
someplace,
But going out to
going to
party,
that's not,
you can't
it's,
do that.
and I'm thinking, I used to think that, my college days, every Friday, Saturday night, if I
That's
didn't
it.
have homework or anything like
Yeah,
that to
yeah.
do, I'd go out to the
Go to
parties,
the
the local
bar, go to the
clubs. Yeah.
party. Yeah. Hang out
And
with
you look
friends,
at
get drinks.
and stay out till late and then get
Oh yeah,
home and stuff like that. But after a while, you start to grow out of that.
you do.
And I think, and that's even before you get to the 30
I think
year,
so too.
you start to
Yeah.
kind of fizz out of that and you kind of think, okay, well, what do I, really want to do? So
Yeah.
you start to focus, some people start to focus on that, but that negative sort of mindset kind of starts to trickle in and I understand that it goes all the way till like 46.
Okay.
They said
46.
46 is usually the lowest point that you have when you are in this age progression
Right.
state.
Is that kind of like when you think people accept like, okay, it wasn't that bad that I'm 46. Like,
Well,
can it get better?
yeah, they get to the lowest point because it's like from 30 up, they start to think,
They think it's
gosh,
life's over
it's
because I'm getting
kind of
old. I'm getting to
yeah,
that
getting, and then
40s.
it's like, oh man, I dread
Right.
the 50s.
And then
But
they
then
get
they get
through
to
it.
the 50s,
Yeah.
yes.
They get through it and they're said, oh, it's not
Well, okay, it's not so
as bad
bad.
as I thought. Maybe.
Exactly. And so their outlook
Yeah.
start to change.
Start to change. Okay.
And then they start to relive some of the thoughts that they once had and thought, gosh, I wasted time
Yeah.
back there. But wisdom
Wisdom.
started to kick in.
The wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So the knowing what to expect and how to deal with things and
that is really the part where emotionally you start to really become more stable
yeah.
in that. And you look at things that once you thought of as kind of finite, that it was finite, you start to look at the infinity of this. And it's like the journey through this now is not so
It's not as hard as you think or
right.
like dreary, drab, like
And so then you start to pick up speed. So they said by the
mm,
time you get past the 50-yard line, so to speak, you start to rekindle this energy, but it's more now
ah,
focus.
yeah.
And now you're saying you want to enjoy life.
Okay.
And then your I would say more like the maturity
Yeah.
of it is starting to kick in.
Got it.
And I would say then you're starting to live. So when you think about the youthful days, it's almost like growing up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you finally realize that, okay, this is not as bad as I thought it
Mm,
was. And I think one of the things that makes it more so is sort of where we are now. We're seeing this shift in mindset where
okay.
long ago, and I was thinking about it as we worked. I mean, our parents and our parents' parents worked until, they were too tired
Yeah.
to body wise, physically,
Physically.
to really hard labor type
Yeah.
jobs.
More manual.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so by the time they got to this, retirement was something that they looked forward to, even though they didn't know necessarily what they were going to do
Yeah.
other than just not go to work.
You got it. Yeah.
And so retirement was really paramount
Right.
to one getting to that age. Now we talk about retirement, and you almost look at somebody and I almost want to say, to retirement. What is retirement? From what? It's like, well, some people say, well, I want to go travel, I want to
Yeah.
do this thing. And that's great. But then you still want to fill your days up with it because we're living
It's
longer,
true.
we're healthier.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at it saying, well, okay, now the best
Is yet to
is
come.
yet to come.
Yeah. Well, I think of my parents
Oh,
and just
yes.
they're
Okay.
retired.
Yes.
They retired from they were both teachers.
Okay.
So they had that. It wasn't a manual, but come on.
But still,
It's a grind to
it takes a
deal with
lot of energy. Oh
children
my
every
gosh, every
day.
day.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it was, elementary school. So young children, right?
That's a lot of
It's a
energy.
lot of work. It's a
A
lot
lot
of
of
work,
energy.
but they were retired. They've been retired for quite some time now.
Yeah, they travel a
They
lot.
travel, I mean, they
Oh,
travel a ton. I
yeah.
mean, every year they've got a major, like probably two or three
Yes.
major traveling
Traveling.
expeditions. They go,
Yeah,
they go on cruises for like 3 weeks at a time,
I know.
gone. So they're enjoying it,
They
right?
are.
So if we were to ask them, I'm sure they would
That would have
say,
been a good
"Oh
question for
man,
them.
life
Yeah,
gets better." Yeah,
it
it's
does.
because you get through those hard parts at the beginning, hopefully at the beginning, and
Yes.
then through the mid, your 40s, 50s, and by the time you get to finally retire, hopefully you've had enough, saved and money and all that stuff so that you can afford to
It's kind of like,
retire. But then also, once you do, they're going to enjoy themselves. And we told
yes.
them, as they've asked, they're like, "Oh, you're sorry, like, your inheritance is going to I'm like, do it. You guys earned it. Like, I don't need
Yes.
anything. I could do, like I'm doing my own thing or getting my
Go
do
ahead
your
and
thing.
have a
Go
great
do your
time.
thing. It's your money. Like you
Yes.
guys earned it. I don't want anything when you're, like, don't worry
It,
about that."
yeah. Well,
So,
that's interesting because you can see and I've seen Facebook pictures of
oh yeah,
them on their,
their little
yeah,
expeditions, their cruise,
yes.
oh, sorry,
And
their
it's like,
cruises.
and it's like, you can see the sort of the excitement
Yeah,
of what they're doing. And
yeah,
then they come home and then you see them for a while and then they said their next, and I've often asked your mom, I said, so where's your next
yeah.
excursion to?
Right,
And she said,
exactly.
well, we have it coming up in another few months. And I'm
Right.
thinking, okay, where are you off to this
Yeah.
time? They somewhere around the world,
Right.
and I'm thinking,
It
okay,
is.
and so that is paramount to sort of the mindset.
Exactly.
I know everybody says, well, I don't have the money to do this, but I'm saying it's really not necessarily having the money to do this. I mean, I remember running into a young lady, I believe somewhere down in San Diego,
Mhm.
just, we met her at a winery and she talked about, getting older and
Yeah.
she sort of spoke in a sense of dread
Really.
and sometimes she said she found herself getting depressed and
Hmm.
just didn't want to get out of bed. And I said, well, so why are you letting that sort of mindset stagnate in your life and instead of getting up and saying, okay, you know what? I can change this.
Yeah.
And she said, well, how do you do this? I said, you do it one step at a time. You don't
Right.
force yourself, but you say, I want to change it. Well, first off, when you say, I want to change it, that is your first step into changing it.
Hmm.
And then you make the next step by changing it,
By doing
by
it,
just doing it.
yeah, go for it. Yeah. That's the
Exactly.
hardest part though, right?
Well,
It's always
that's
the first step
Well,
the
that's what
first step is
Nike,
always the
Nike that's
hardest,
what
right?
Nike found that
Oh
it
yeah.
was like totally like just do
Just
it.
go. Just do it.
And and
Yeah.
and, and they coined that phrase
Yeah.
because it's so true.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people, even young people, between the ages of 25 and 30, they fail to just do it.
Yeah.
Your passion.
And I think that's learned
And
as
that
well when you
it is.
as you age, you learn that you just got to go for it
And I
sometimes,
think when you
and
get the
you
50
gotta.
plus,
Yeah.
you realize that, and that's where the wisdom cuts in.
Oh yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then you realize that, gosh, I wished I knew. And I've heard so many
Hmm.
people say, I wished I'd known then what I know now.
Right.
And it's like, wow, what if you could? I
Yeah.
mean, if you could go back in time, what would you do?
What would you tell your younger self? Right. That's
Exactly.
always
Yes,
the
I've
one of
heard
those
that.
topics. Like, what would you
Yes.
tell
What
your
would you
younger
tell
self?
your
And
younger
it's like,
self?
man, there's so much to tell your younger
Oh my
self,
gosh.
right?
Yes. And
But then
so,
it's yeah. So just weird on that topic, right? Though. But what if you tell yourself something, your younger self, something that changes your future? That doesn't end the
like,
same way.
like,
So if you
give me a,
said, hey, just like be happy with whatever you have, and you're happy with what you have, but your unhappiness also in that time, whatever you went through, your unhappiness led you to your happiness down the road.
okay. So
So
in
then
other
your
words,
unhappiness isn't there anymore, right? Because you're enjoying whatever you have at that time. It doesn't lead you to that final happiness.
yeah, but think about it. If your happiness, if you were able to go back and change that unhappy state
Yeah.
because you told yourself
Yeah.
that, then you would never, by the time you got to that space, your happiness would
Yeah.
be
I
over
yeah. I
that.
guess I'm thinking of more situational then, right?
Okay.
So if I was in a situation of hardship,
Okay.
right? And I said, okay, to get through this, this is what you do. You got through it, but it didn't lead you to the final path because
Maybe
you changed so
change
much.
that.
You just changed the trajectory
Yes.
instead of going to that.
Well, what if, okay,
So
so
we're getting to a whole nother subject
I
here.
know
It's
but
like
in that,
different, but it's
in that,
interesting.
well, that is true. But in that, and I'd like
Yeah.
to say
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that in doing so, that it changed not only at that moment, it
Yeah.
changed your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
So by the time you got to
Yeah.
that space where you were,
Yeah.
that now your perspective is
Different.
totally
Yeah.
different than
It's
what it
changed.
was.
Yeah.
And so I would say that it probably shot you faster into I mean, we will never know,
We'll
but
never know. But I think the mindset is what
yeah,
you're talking
that's
about.
what I'm talking about.
I'm talking about situational too, though, right? So, like, what if it actually alters something where you have a different family? Like you see the
Okay.
movies,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
why. But
yes.
that's,
Right,
I
right.
think, again,
Okay. That's a whole different,
off
but
subject, off subject.
we'll have to come back
But an
to that one
interesting
again.
topic. That would be a crazy topic to think
Time
about, right?
travel. Oh
Time
my gosh.
travel and
Okay.
how
We'll
would it
talk about that.
change? What if?
Yes.
Anyway,
What
we'll
if?
come back to that one too. It's a good one. No.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
So so now
So back to your friend from San Diego. Did she
yes.
ever like figure out,
Well,
you know,
I saw her again, like maybe maybe a month or so,
mhm,
month and a half. And she said, I took your advice and
mhm,
I got up and I went out and I just went, I said, good. I said, that's what you want to do
first
because
step?
then yes. And she was all, had smiles on her face, was
Oh,
enjoying the music. And I said, you know what? I'll see you again. I'm going to ask you, how are you doing on your journey to where you want to be?
yeah,
Because really, I mean, that is paramount to you have to sort of understand where it is that you want to be and what you
yeah.
want to do in order to get there because you cannot get there if you don't know.
If you
And
don't
she
know,
was kind
right?
of one of those things like I never thought about that. And I'm
Yeah,
thinking, well, I know, and most people don't because daily activity sort of weighs you down.
yeah,
And if you don't have that sort of outlook on your life and on the life around you and those things, then you get bogged down. And then, of course, it closes down on you. And all you want to do is lay in bed. I don't even want to get up and
yeah.
face
You
whatever.
don't want to, yeah. And you're scared of,
But it
what
gets
could
better.
happen,
Yeah.
right?
It gets better
So,
though. It gets better. And it's up to you though, each individual
yeah,
as to what it is that they want to get. But when they get older, it realizes that physically you're not hindered by anything. And I would tell you that being active,
hmm
staying active, that's one
hmm
of I think that's what your mom and dad, I think
that's it.
it's kind of what I see in them.
Yeah.
And so even as they get older, they still have this youthful kind of
They,
persona
well,
about them.
they have like a personal trainer that comes over
Okay.
twice a
Oh,
week,
okay.
right? So like they're physically
Working out. Well, they
working
would
out.
have
They're
to think of
physically
that.
active because yeah, travel is
They
tough.
went at one time. I remember seeing them, the Great Wall of
Great Wall
China,
of China, yes.
and I'm thinking
They do
that's
a marathon there? They might have done like a
they did
run there or
something
something. I think they
there.
did a run there or
Yeah, I
something,
think they did.
5K or something.
And I thought that's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
So that's I think that we're seeing this shift in,
Yeah.
mindset of people now. Even the younger people are seeing
Yeah.
that the older people now are more
They're
active
just more
than
active, yeah.
my grandparents. and even my parents for that reason.
No, true.
I do stuff that my dad never did.
Right.
I mean, remember I was telling you some time ago that in one of the other episodes that I used to ride my bike. I
Mm.
did one time where I did over 12,000. I used to log every mile every time I went out on the road.
Hmm.
That's how I know I did over 12,000 miles that year. Now, some
That's right.
avid
It said that.
cyclists would probably say they do more,
Yeah.
but for me, that was sort of like when I look back, my dad at the time when I told him,
Yeah.
he said, you did 12,000 miles
Yeah.
this
It's
season.
like an unfathomable number, right?
He was trying to,
You
he
can't
thought
think
you
about
went
that.
further on your bicycle than I have in my car over the
Right.
past year.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Dad, I said, I enjoy getting out there and riding. And so in that, I said, I never really thought about it until I started to tally up
Yeah.
the year
Yeah.
and looked at it and thought, wow, I did
That's
over
kind of cool.
12,000 miles
Yeah.
on my bicycle. I'm thinking that bike has got over 12,000 miles on
Those
it.
tires, those
The
wheels,
wheels,
the
everything.
frame, the
Yeah.
everything, man.
And I thought, and then my body.
Your body. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
But I enjoyed
But
that.
imagine not doing the 12,000
It's
miles. How would
crazy.
your body be without those 12,000
I don't know
miles?
at this point in time. I would think I
Yeah.
might not be. Well, I'll tell you this way. Kind of like the laws of physics. Once in motion, if you stay in motion, you'll keep in motion.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you stay at rest,
You
a
stay at
body at
rest. Yeah.
rest stays at rest.
Right. Yeah.
And it's simple and yet it's complex at the same time. So
Mm.
I would say just keep moving. And
Keep
that
moving.
is sort of one of the main components
Yeah.
to aging and having a greater senior life,
Right.
as opposed to what we saw when we were younger,
Right. Yeah.
thinking that,
Exactly.
okay, it's all over.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not.
So, yeah,
No, because and especially too, think about the human body. It's amazing, right? It's
it's
not like it
constantly,
doesn't stop. It doesn't say like, okay, sit there and don't do anything. It
yes.
wants that. It's
And
like
that's what,
taking your dog out for a walk,
so what do you think that
right?
what do you think that we start to get that way? I mean, think about it from the 30s.
Yeah.
We started looking at it as a negative. We started
Yeah.
looking at ourselves and thinking that, oh my gosh, I don't even, have time. I don't, and so then you start to block that thought out of in your head.
Yeah.
What do you think we do that?
I don't, well, I think it's ingrained as a society, as a work society too,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
I think work uh, comes before a lot of other things. And
Okay.
it, as
And that
it,
kind
as
of
it,
washes out.
and it can wash
You're
us
right.
out
You're right.
because you spend 8 hours a day doing work,
Okay.
whatever the work is. It could be
Yes.
manual labor, it could be on a computer, it could be whatever you want to do. But you spend that 8 hours a day, and then you gotta figure out, okay, if I've got a family with kids, and I've got to go home, and I gotta make the dinner, or I gotta whatever it is, play with your kids, spend time with the family. When do you find time to then take care of yourself?
Okay. So let me throw this to you then. We talk about saving for retirement and
Mm,
all that. So what if we approached it with the thought of saying, okay, I need to save some of me
mm.
for older
For older me.
me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, what I'm sort of advocating is saying, okay, taking an hour, taking 30 minutes, going for a brisk walk
Right.
daily.
Yep.
That's like putting into the bank.
Yep.
And in doing so, you, even with all of the things that you have going on in the run of your life,
Yep.
from kids to work to all this, saying that I save money over here.
Right.
Why not save me, a
Yeah.
little bit of me over there?
I think it's hard
So
with
what
people.
makes
I
it
think yes, that
okay?
that makes total sense. But I think for different people, right? Especially, I'm just kind of thinking to myself, you're tired,
Okay.
so you got to find the time, right? So what I did personally, which is not what everyone will do, or
Okay.
whatever it is I wake up now at 4:30 in the morning,
Okay.
and I'm at the gym by 5 a.m.
Mm,
and I'm there
okay.
from 5 to 6 for me. Come back home. Now I can get the kids ready for school, wake them up, get them ready for school, take them to school at 7,
So
right?
so
So
what
but you got to
sacrifices?
find sleep was my sacrifice, right?
Okay. And so why
It
is
really
that?
was.
Why?
I needed to take care of me, right?
Okay. Mm,
But you don't think about that too. Also, you have to find that
exactly.
time, but you also have to, just like your friend in San Diego, you got to take that first step,
Yeah.
because the more you do it, the easier it'll be for you. The repetitiveness, right?
Yes.
Getting out there, getting up at 4:30. Now I'm up before the alarm goes off.
How do you
Right?
feel?
Great.
See,
Great. And then it's, I've lost a lot of weight. I've been able to take care of myself. I haven't been taking this, haven't had to have different medicines, right? So it
that's
helps. And it, like you said, you're paying for yourself, but you also have to invest in yourself, which is the
that's it.
hardest part
That's
if
what we
you
do. We
have,
neglect that
yeah.
aspect,
And that's probably,
and
it's just as
it's
important as financial
it
health as
is
well, because who cares if we have money if you're not around?
right, or you're not able to get
Or you're not
around.
able to, yeah, you're not able to move around, or you're
You've
not,
got
whatever the case is.
that's
Yeah.
that's the point.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying, and I
Yeah.
like that. I like that analogy of getting to a point where you say, "Okay, I'm going to set aside this time,
Yep.
wherever it is. If it's early in the morning, or if it's late
Late
in
at
the
night,
evening, yes.
whatever it
But
is,
whatever you
that
finding
you
that
time.
time in there, that's
Hmm.
investing in you.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of times we don't do. And we sort of overlook that. And especially at a
Yeah.
younger age, you kind of feel like I'm too tired to do this. And I'm
Exactly.
thinking,
That's it. You're
yeah,
too tired.
I'm too
I'm too
tired
tired.
to do this.
I've
And you
done
give
too
yourself
much
that.
today. I've hung out too much.
Yeah.
I've worked too much already. I put in a good day. You know.
So
So that's the hard part.
you had a statement or something that you had said that was very impressive to you that I wanted to sort of have you share that with the listeners.
Oh,
Bob Marley,
yeah.
something that he
So
said.
talking about your friend from San Diego, right?
Okay,
Who's, you know, well, and talking about life in general, you
right.
think, oh, you don't think of, you think, at the end, you think of everything that's happened in
Yeah,
your life. The
right,
beginning, you don't really think. You think of, oh, look to the future, but then you neglect the middle
right.
portion, right? And I think the quote from Bob Marley was something along the lines of beginnings are
Are
scary,
scary.
yeah.
Yes,
Endings are usually sad, but it's everything in
that's in
between
between.
that makes it worth it. That all worth it, right? So
I like that
just think through that as it's all
as
worth it because it's those experiences in the middle that you don't even realize. Sometimes you don't even realize you're going through them that will
yeah.
shape, the way that your life comes out.
Well,
Um,
I like to commend those that are, go to the gym and devote some time to themselves,
yeah.
and the ones that are wanting to do that to challenge
Oh
them
yeah.
to get to find that
You could do it.
30 minutes
Yeah.
to devote to yourself to say that this is putting some uh, health into the bank for
Right.
my later
And it doesn't
years.
have to be
Doesn't have to
it
be
doesn't
long.
have to be 30 minutes. It
No.
doesn't have to be in the morning. It could be whenever you think you can find time. We know people's lives have there's
Yes.
a lot of stuff that goes on in
Yes.
people's lives from family to work and everything else. And just to find the 30 minutes or even the 10 minutes, right, for
Yeah, I
yourself
would,
to sit down and relax and just
and then focus on you.
decompress, focus, and then, get some movement in, take a quick walk, whatever the case
Mhm,
is,
mhm.
and mentally also help cleanse
I
yourself there as well.
I think it'll really set you up emotionally for the next stage. And I always looked at it like the 50-yard line.
Yeah,
We're midfield. You
midfield,
got a
baby.
great view of the field. You can
Yeah,
see what it was and where you're going.
yeah,
And
exactly.
it's
So,
like, okay, so how do you want to play the game
right.
from this point on?
Yeah.
And that's where I believe the game, and it's always, and I'm going to use this analogy, and a lot of you sports fans out there are probably going to say, what is he talking about? But you know what? The second half of the game is always the most exciting one.
Well, you can make changes during
You can,
halftime.
absolutely. There it
That's it.
is.
You make changes during halftime. You see what you're not doing right,
And you
and
can
you
make that
adjust.
change and you adjust, and the
And then
second half is
the
more
second
exciting than the first half. With that,
half. With that, yeah. So yes, as a matter of fact, life gets better as you age, right? I
that's
think
what I
that's the
say.
answer.
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
that's what our answer is anyway. So
So we're going to end this segment here with act of kindness,
yeah,
and I wanted
what do you got?
to talk about. There was a group of youngsters that I saw recently that was on Kindness 101,
Hmm.
and they had set out because they knew there were a lot of senior citizens that were not fluent with or savvy with using technology,
Yeah,
their phones and
of
their
course.
computers and things like that. And so they went to, I believe, a senior
Senior home. Yeah, yeah.
home,
I think that I read this one too. It's somewhere in Florida.
and they volunteered their
Yeah,
time
yeah,
to help these citizens
Yeah.
learn the technology of
Yeah.
using their cell phones and
That's
their
it.
computers. And I
Yeah.
thought that was so amazing. And I believe it was called Clio
CaLew.
or something
Yeah, I
like
think it was
that.
called
Yeah.
CaLew. Yeah, and it stood for something. I can't remember what it stood for, but it was CaLew. We'll put a description at the bottom of
Yes.
our a link to our story, the story at the
And
bottom of
it was such an act of kindness
yeah.
that I thought, something like that could happen in any community around the
Oh
country
yeah.
here. Senior citizens are not as savvy with the technology, but
Right.
to know that for it was
It's
that
what
bridge, that gap
yeah,
between the young
exactly. The
and
young and
the
the old.
older.
Yeah. It's funny, my we bought our kids a
Okay.
couple of shirts. Our
Yes,
kids, yeah,
yes,
they're
yes,
young.
yes, yes.
But I think it said grandma's tech
Tech, tech.
service, tech advice, tech service.
Yes.
So it's like that's exactly
Awesome.
it. Yeah, that's
So
exactly
that's
it.
an act of kindness, and I would like to challenge
Yeah.
each one of you out there to do a simple act of kindness.
Yeah.
Let someone get over when they're trying to get over in front of you, or something like that.
Simple
It's a
stuff.
simple yes. I
Simple
like that.
stuff for
We need
sure.
it.
Well,
Okay.
be sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Facebook,
Yes.
Instagram.
Yes. At all of those. And
Please.
we'd like to have you tune in to our next topic
Yep.
next time. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.